Good morning. This is Manoj Kumar. My topic is different ways of introducing ourselves. How to introduce in different ways of ourselves. Introduction. Introduce yourself whether in a professional capacity or casual one. Is virtual to how people will perceive you will follow the interactions that takes place. Whether to say hi, I am XYZ and scratch your head or say I am this and that is no confident indication of who you are. The right introduction is not too long or too short. It does not have to be cramped speech. Your introduction does not have to be completely technical or professional. Table contents of this topic. Self introduction tips. First impression is the last impression. How to introduce yourself. Stick the content in case of professional setting. Talk about you are and what you do. Make it relevant. Talk about your contribution. Go beyond what your title is. In case of interview, dress the part. Prepare what you are going to say and body language the before, during, and after the interview. Self introduction tips. Self introduction is any form of interaction that tells who you are, what you do, and what others need to know. A good self introduction covers all the three parts within a limited sort of words so people can understand who they are interacting with. A few situations where you are required to introduce yourself are giving an interview or interviewing somebody, meeting somebody new in a professional or casual gathering, meeting people at a people, hiring somebody, building new connections. Try to cover the most important things that you need to know about you by wrapping them in these three clues. First impression is the last impression. A good introduction with anybody will help you build connections and acquaintances. It will assist you in providing the necessary details while ensuring it does not sound like a speech, whether it is written intro or spoken one. A positive first introduction goes a long way in ensuring that you will be considered solidly. How to introduce yourself? Stick the content. The essential thing to understand before introduce yourself is the context of the situation you are in. The place, environment, and gathering matters. It is a professional one. Then you need to understand the room. Hence, all the senses where it is important that you consider the context. Talk about who you are and what you do. First tip in any professional setup is to introduce yourself by telling your name and telling what you do. Telling your professional title by a simple sentence of what do you do is a nice way to introduce such gatherings. Make it relevant. Take care of the content. It is by the four essential tip for any introduction. You cannot be talking about technology in an environment that has nothing to do with it and vice versa. Talk about your contribution. It is professional setting. It is paramount that you talk about what you bring to the table. Go behind the title. Go behind what your title is. Honestly, your job title does not mean much unless you are CEO of or a chief officer of some kind, in which case it is self-explanatory. Your job title does not tell much about what you do, so it is better to talk about you really do in the job. In case of interview, dressing the part. The dressing is one of the most basic and visual presentation tips. It is also essential in personality building. For example, you cannot dress casually when you are going for interview. So the first thing is the dressing part you want to get. Prepare what you are going to say. If you have an interview in the morning, you should consider writing what are you going to say down on the paper and practicing in front of a paper. It will help build up fluency not only just for an interview, but it will also help you in personality building as whole. Introduce yourself in case of interview. Body language. In interview, body language is a key role. It speaks a lot about your confidence and who you are. For example, keep yourself relaxed, your shoulders back and your chest high. It will help you in communicating well with the interviewer. Before interview, before the interview, when you are arriving the building, you introduce yourself to the receptions like this. Hi, I am XYZ. I have an interview at 1 p.m. for the XYZ role. After that, you may be seated, or if you are on time, you will be taken the room for your interview. Whoever you must meet, you stand up and greet them with a nice handshake. Once you meet your interviewer, you introduce yourself properly. During the interview, during the interview, make sure to drink water that's there for you and answer everything with determination and balanced pace. And the third thing is after the interview. After the interview, you get up and you say proper goodbye to the interviewer by saying something, but not necessarily this. It was a pleasure meeting you. I appreciate you giving me your time today. Hope to see you again. Wrapping it up, we often find ourselves in situations where we have to introduce ourselves. It is useful to have already though a nice introduction that tips off who you are and what you do. Use our tips and methods to properly introduce yourself in a possible settings. Put up a solid impression on anyone. Conclusion. The conclusion should tie everything together and make a speech more universal. The conclusion should focus on the overarching importance of the topic of your speech. If your speech is simply introduce yourself, you can end with a less grand conclusion. The conclusion of a self-introduction speech should reiterate and summarize the most important parts of your speech, the main details about yourself that you share. Thank you.